What is good, YouTube? It's your boy OG Nonboy back with another video, and in today's video I'm going to be going over a team with a pretty classic core of the Stunfisk and Venusaur, but instead of a different safe swap such as the Sableye, which I have featured on this channel before, we're going to be going with the PELIPPER as a safe swap, as it did get the buff due to the wing attack energy gain increase. So I first saw this team on FP Stix's channel, so shout out to him for the team idea, but without further ado, let's get into these matches here. So first match, we have the Galarian Stunfisk into Pidgeot. So this is a positive lead for us, and they decide to swap into a Galarian Stunfisk, and I'm just going to go into my Venusaur here. A little bit of a questionable decision, as we are at risk of losing Switch depending on how this matchup plays out and if the opponent wants to invest shields or not. But I don't like playing out the Galarian Stunfisk mirror just because it is so bait dependent. So I'm also fine with just going down as long as we can get a shield advantage, or maybe even just going 0-0 shields and seeing what happens from there, since our Pelipper does know a pretty heavy nuke move of the Hurricane, which just about one-shots a lot of things as long as they aren't too bulky, even in neutral situations. So I'm going to go ahead and try to fight for Switch here. If the opponent shields this, they will likely take us out. So that's going to end up happening here, as they are able to get to a Rock Slide. And this doesn't quite KO, but it will put us in a range where another Mud Shot is going to take us out. So our Venusaur is also the rank 1, so just about as much bulk as you could get in that scenario there. But we still have winning chances here, and we managed to catch a Brave Bird onto our Galarian Stunfisk, so we still have some play even though we don't have alignment. But as you can see, alignment definitely would have been nice, as they do have a pretty hard counter to our Galarian Stunfisk in the back. But since we do have shields down, we will be able to go for an Earthquake here, and this should be doing a lot of damage to the Medicham, and they are just about in Weather Ball range. So I'm going to go ahead and farm up a little bit extra, just so that I can reach the Hurricane on the Pidgeot in the front a little bit faster. And then, yeah, we're just going to go straight for the Hurricane here. It's going to nuke the Pidgeot, and this should be a GG for us. So Hurricane doing a lot of damage there. Next match, we have our Galarian Stunfisk into another Galarian Stunfisk. And like I said before, I really hate playing out this matchup since it is so bait dependent. So I actually built a team after running this team for a while, just because I was so sick of seeing the Galarian Stunfisk lead that I decided to hard counter it. So definitely stick around for that video. It really worked out well for me, and I went on a pretty good run with that next team that I will be showcasing on my channel. But I tried to catch an Earthquake, but they throw one more Mud Shot, which kind of makes me worried, but they still throw the Earthquake anyways. So it wasn't really a true catch, but it still worked out for us regardless in this scenario. So I'm going to throw the Weather Ball, and the opponent decides to dip out into their Altaria. So I'm going to go straight for the Hurricane here. I either want the shield or just to do the damage, so no reason to bait there. Our Galarian Stunfisk does have a Rock Slide loaded, so if they decided to shield that, I would have been fine with that. Came back in and hit them with 2 Rock Slides. But since they did not shield, we only need to get to 1 more Rock Slide. Gonna over farm a little bit just so I have a little bit of extra energy. Let's see what the opponent decides to bring back in. So they bring the Stunfisk back in, and I'm going to shield this potential Earthquake up. And then the unfortunate thing about this scenario here is, even though they are a lot lower health than I am, I still have to throw an Earthquake to take them out. So the Weather Ball damage that we did before not really helping us out too much here, and I lost track of my opponent's energy, and they're actually able to get to a second Earthquake here to take us out. So at this point, since they have a Mandibuzz in the back, we are kind of screwed, and that is a GG's to my opponent. Next match, we have the Trevenant lead. Also not a terribly comfortable lead for the Galarian Stunfisk lead, but we're going to go ahead and stay in here and just play this out a little bit. So we go for the Rock Slide. Gonna do neutral damage, but it doesn't even take the Trevenant down to half health. So thankfully they do swap out into the Medicham. So our Pelipper does have a nice matchup against the Medicham. Ice Punches here will only be doing neutral damage due to the water subtyping, and I probably should have thrown a little bit before so I didn't have to tank this move, but we're gonna have to go shield down here. So if the opponent decides to no shield and we take them out, they will leave here with a shield advantage. But thankfully they shield up this weather ball, and then I decide to go straight for the hurricane here, which is a little bit excessive since we did see how much damage a weather ball did in the previous matchup. And now they're gonna bring the Stunfisk back in. I'm gonna throw a weather ball before they are able to take us out. And they actually decide to shield it, which is pretty interesting to me. So they hit us with a rock slide, and I'm going to come back in with the Stunfisk. Since I am ahead on energy, we are a shield up, and we should be able to reach this earthquake. So this definitely going to do a lot more than the weather ball that they just shielded. And now we're in a pretty advantageous decision. We still have a shield, and a sludge bomb should be lethal to this Trevenant, even though they did farm up quite a bit of energy before they left that lead matchup. We should be able to get to this sludge bomb just fine before having to eat another move, and that is a GG to my opponent. Well, I guess not quite yet, since they are going to throw this move, but it is basically over as this earthquake still does not take out our Venusaur. So next match here, we have the Stunfisk into Sableye. So this is kind of like a neutral lead. It really depends on how you both decide to shield and if you are able to successfully bait the Sableye. So I'm gonna no shield this first move, and I'm gonna bait with the rock slide first, hoping to get a shield here, and then I'm probably gonna go straight for the earthquake just because a lot of times the opponent will not double shield in the lead matchup. So this will almost take out the Sableye if it lands, but let's see what the opponent decides to do here. Gotta make sure you hit all those bubbles, and the opponent actually decides to shield, so I swap out into my PELIPPER, and they catch a weather ball nicely onto their lantern. So this might look kind of bad, but it's actually really not, especially since this lantern knows the fast move of water gun instead of spark. So they're gonna have to throw a move if they want to take us out, and we're gonna be able to chip them up a little bit with this hurricane. And even though it is resisted here, doing quite a bit of damage, and this puts them in a perfect farm down range for our Venusaur. So we should be able to hit the Sableye or whatever else is in the back pretty hard with our Venusaur, and we should only be tanking a resisted move here since they do only know either Surf or the Thunderbolt. But Thunderbolt actually doing a considerable chunk there. So they bring in a Frost Glass, so I'm gonna get this Frenzy Plant off, and for some reason I'm gonna stay in here and farm up to another move, and then I swap into my Galarian Stunfisk. And this is kind of where it gets a little bit weird because they definitely are a little bit ahead on energy, so they've had the energy for a foul play at this point, so they could have thrown it. But now, since they see how low we are, they are committing to the farm down, and that actually kind of doesn't work out for them. So we're able to get the Rock Slide off, and we still have a Frenzy Plant on our Venusaur plus a shield, so we should be able to get this off and win the game there. So opponent kind of throwing there a little bit, allowing me to win the match, so definitely a bit lucky there. And I believe this is the final match, so this is another Galarian Stunfisk mirror matchup. And again, this is why I built my next team, so look out for that video. And I'm going to shield up this first one. I usually like to overfarm a little bit just to see what the opponent decides to do first. So I'm going to bait with the Rock Slide just because the last time the opponent shielded. And then I'm also going to call this bait just because a lot of times they do like to double bait. So that kind of works out in our favor, a little bit lucky. But of course, like, you got to play those 50-50 calls when you are in the mirror match here. So we should be able to outpace them to the next Earthquake safely, assuming we shield like this move. It doesn't matter what this move is. And it is the Earthquake, so we should be able to get to our Earthquake here too. And I just overfarm a little bit in case they decided to attempt the catch on a different Pokemon. But we're able to take them out, and then they bring a Lantern back in. So I'm curious as to what is in the back, since like, they did bring the Lantern back in, and it kind of makes sense that there probably would be a Flyer in the back. But I decided to bring my Venusaur in, which is a questionable move just because I didn't want to eat any damage on my Stunfisk and save the health for the Flyer in the back. But we should be able to get a neutral Sludge Bomb off, which does quite a bit of damage to the Noctowl, and we still have a full health Pelipper, which should be able to take care of this thing just fine as well. So the opponent realizing that the game is over and they concede the match. So yeah, those were all the battles for this video. Definitely a solid team if you wanted to give it a try and able to go 4-1 in the set. But that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and also submit your battles in the link in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one.